everybody. Today you're going to be reading and answering questions about constructivism and active learning. So I just want to give you a little bit of an introduction. So constructivism is this idea that all knowledge is interpreted through the lens of what is already known. So this new information causes us to add, modify, or discard old information. It's a very active, reflective process. And the role of a teacher is to understand what students already know so that the new knowledge can be properly fit into the prior knowledge. So this is to counteract a view of what's called sage on the stage, where a teacher is just standing up in the front, saying things, writing things on the board, and you're supposed to just mindlessly write down what it is and memorize what the person is saying. Quality learning doesn't work that way. And in fact, this isn't talking about quality, high quality or low quality learning. It says even if a teacher were to do that, what's happening on the student end is they're still interpreting all of this new information based on what they already know. And so, again, this idea that teachers somehow pour knowledge into a student was prior to constructivism. So with constructivism, it really comes down to learning is not just memorization of facts, it's not just receiving information, because even seemingly simple facts like the world is round. Well, is it round like a pancake or is it round like a ball? And so students' prior knowledge and what comes to mind influences even simple facts, but learning is about a lot more than simple facts. And so most learning is interpretation, analysis, observation. So much of learning requires more, and it's all based on what you've done before. So just take this little example on what that might mean in the classroom. So I'm going to give you a few seconds to try to memorize this pattern. Okay, well now that you have it memorized, what numbers are those? Time's up. All right, now if instead I had presented the information this way, where 1 is that corner, 2 is the top, 3 is that other corner, 5 is a square because it's in the middle. So if I present the information to you that way, now is it a little bit easier to solve this? It is, and that's because I used your prior knowledge. So this isn't constructivism itself. This is something that if you realize constructivism is, if you believe in constructivism and you design things based on that, you can actually take advantage of students' prior knowledge and use that for designing educational experiences. So really, for constructivism, this is the idea that the individual matters. Their previous knowledge provides this lens through which new knowledge is understood. My example wasn't really a lens, it was more like building on prior knowledge. It's a lot more interesting when we talk about it as a lens, and I think that in today's world with large groups of people not understanding the experiences of other large groups of people, that's because the lens through which people understand things is very different because they've been treated very differently from birth. And so we need to really think in this class about the lenses through which we see things and we learn new knowledge, and others might see things differently and might learn things differently. So different students may interpret the new information differently. Okay, so the second thing you're going to be exploring during these readings is active learning. And so active learning is not the same as constructivism. We'll go through the exact differences in a few slides. But active learning is really trying to get students to think about something. If they're just sitting down, writing what the teacher is saying, even though what they're understanding is through their lens, active learning says, well, but they're not going to learn as well if they're just writing things down. If they actually analyze, synthesize, evaluate, do something that gets them involved, that's higher engagement, but it's also that if you construct your own knowledge, if you're given a piece of facts and you have to come to your own conclusions, or if you get to observe something, when you create that knowledge by yourself, or even better with a group, because groups get you to talk, they challenge you, you can construct new knowledge in groups really well, then students learn better. It's deeper learning, and they retain it longer. But students don't just spontaneously do this themselves. And so the teacher's role, instead of talking at the student, the teacher's role is to create activities and structures for the activities that encourage students to have discussions that will build that knowledge. So it really changes the teacher's job. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about constructivism versus active learning. So constructivism is a theory about learning. That's about what happens in the brain. So constructing understanding and knowledge through experiencing things and reflecting them, and having this be through the lens of what they already know. That theory implies teaching strategies. For example, active learning. So there are lots of teaching strategies that can imply, but one of them is active learning. But constructivism still applies even when there's passive learning. And also there may be reflection involved beyond the active learning activity. So active learning is very closely tied to constructivism because it provides activities that fit well with the constructivist theory, but it's not the same because that's a teaching technique and constructivism is the theory. All right, so in active learning, we try to find ways to engage students. We give them opportunities to construct their own knowledge, and to do it on their own through structured tasks, or in groups through discussions and structured tasks. All right, so this week, or these 2 days, you're going to have some readings about constructivism and some applications, and then active learning example activities. Don't forget to answer the reading questions when you're done before next class. And also the programming project will be released, and those are on a weekly basis as opposed to a class period basis. Okay, bye.